Sal Paolantonio, kind enough to join us. He is going to the Tampa airport to fly back. The ESPN national correspondent covering the NFL and a Philly legend. Sal Powell joining us on the program. Sal, thanks for joining us. What did you see in the last 2 months that led us to what happened last night?
Well, they don't have any answers for the quarterback. That's the bottom line, Dan. I mean, we can talk about the defense, but you invested $250 million in Jalen Hurts, and game after game after game, for the last 4 games actually, defensive coordinators have been blitzing Jalen Hurts at a rate of 45, 50, 55. Last night, 59% Todd Bowles went after Jalen Hurts, and they don't have an answer for him. And this is the number one problem with the football team. If you cannot convert on third down on the road in a wild card game, they were 0 for forever last night on third down because Todd Bowles blitzed on every single third down. That, to me, is the number one problem. And, you know, Troy Aikman said it on the broadcast last night. They don't take advantage of the middle of the field. Now, they didn't have A.J. Brown last night, but even when they had A.J. Brown in the lineup, it was a problem. So I think that is the number one issue. And when you don't have confidence in your ability to convert in the face of blitzing in the NFL, this is a blitzing league now. It's all about getting the quarterback and getting him out of the game. We had 68 different starting quarterbacks because quarterbacks get hurt. Even in Detroit, we saw Stafford get hurt. We saw Jared Goff get hit. This is what the league is about right now, and they don't have answers. They're not providing the answers, and that's the job of the head coach. It's his offense and his hand-picked offensive coordinator, Brian Johnson.
Is it fixable?
It is fixable, without a doubt. It is fixable. They were okay with it prior to the extraordinary level of blitzes. So they have to get somebody in there who understands. Listen, the guy who invented getting the ball out quickly and being so good at it that he won multiple championships was Tom Brady. They understood that it's a blitzing league, so the ball's got to be hut, get it out of your hands quickly, provide answers, option routes at the line of scrimmage for the quarterback. If you're going to go empty all of the time, if you're not going to be under center all of the time, you're not getting your back to the quarterback, the defense, you're in the shotgun, you have to provide answers. And that's what Josh McDaniels did for years for Tom Brady.
How safe is Nick Sirianni's job?
I don't think he's very safe. Lane Johnson, the leader of the team in many, many ways, all-pro right tackle, he's going to the Hall of Fame. His quote was 4 words, Dan. No one is safe. This kind of epic and final collapse, no one is safe. And it's important to identify what the collapse was about.
Yeah.
And even Nick Sirianni alluded to it in his post-game presser. We got into a rut, and we couldn't stop the slide. Okay. So I'm not getting paid to stop the slide. You're not getting paid to stop the slide. Lane Johnson's not getting paid to do that. The head coach, that is his number one job description. If the team's going in one direction, I got to make sure I get it to go in the other direction. That's why they're paying me $5 million a year. And he couldn't do that. So I would say I agree with Lane Johnson. No one is safe. But you have to fix the offense and do it around Jalen Hurts. That's the number one thing. And you got to re-energize the locker room. I was literally one of the last reporters. I waited for every player to come out of that locker room. Dan, there was frustration, but I think looking at the players like Hassan Reddick, like Brandon Graham, and I think Graham will be back next year, still playing at a high level, Fletcher Cox, they believe they have the talent in that locker room to turn it around. Both Reddick and Graham said to me, and they said, we got to get after the quarterback, straight to the quarterback. No more fooling around. And I think that's an indication of the kind of philosophy that they want on defense because they see the rest of the league doing it. You don't want Hassan Reddick dropping into coverage. You want him going after the quarterback. That's what he gets paid to do.
You know, they had a stretch where, they beat Dallas and they beat Miami and they beat the Chiefs, and then they had the 49ers loss. I don't think they ever recovered from that loss. What was that, 42-19 or something?
Something.
Yeah.
It was bad. It was a bad something. No, it was a bad. But, you have to go back to what Sean McDermott did. Listen, if Josh Allen and Gabe Davis hook up in the end zone in overtime, you remember the pass.
Yeah.
Gabe Davis went to the pylon, and Josh Allen threw it to the post, which he was supposed to do. That was Gabe Davis miscommunication. Everybody knows you teach the wide receiver down in the red zone. When you have a zero blitz situation, you teach the wide receiver to go to the empty part of the field in the middle of the field. He didn't go there. The ball was not – they didn't connect on the pass. If they connect on that pass, then, the Eagles may not even make it to the playoffs. So they had problems even before that game when they beat Buffalo.
When the Eagles take the field next year, who's the head coach?
Yes. Yeah, that's a good question. So here's the thing. Let's look at the dynamics of it. I'm not in the speculation business. I'm in the reporting business. So here's what I can tell you. If you're going to change the offensive coordinator, which I believe they're going to do, if you're going to change the defensive coordinator, which I believe they're going to do, okay, you're going to make those two changes, or you're going to have a head coach who's in the fourth year of a 5-year deal be the steward, the navigator of this rebuild. That's the question. Are you going to go forward with Nick Sirianni, or are you going to have somebody else come in completely? And there are guys out there. I mean, Belichick's still very much available. Mike Vrabel, very much available. You could do that, and you could definitely change the direction psychologically. And here's the other thing, Dan, and I can't overstate this. In Philly, the fans matter.
Yeah.
There's so much attention on what the fans say because the team pays attention to it. They are always focus grouping. They are always polling their season ticket holders. The fans, you have two very big sports talk radio stations. You have guys who are on those sports talk radio stations like Joe DeCamara, Anthony Gargano, others, where the coach no longer has to support. Marcus Hayes, the great columnist of the Philly Daily News. When you don't have that kind of support in the zeitgeist, if you will, it's hard to really maintain the head coach that you have. And I think that's the thing. And the other thing, too, is you got to realize, yes, Jeffrey Lurie was patient with Andy Reid, 14 years. But he quickly jettisoned Chip Kelly when things went sour. He got rid of Doug Peterson 2 years after winning the Super Bowl when things were not going right. So he's not in a patient mood these days when it comes to head coaches.
I'll leave you with this. Who had a more disappointing season, the Eagles or the Cowboys?
I would say the Eagles did because they started 10-1 and they couldn't right the ship. I mean, it just kept going under. And that's, I was in that locker room. It was rough. It was definitely rough. Now, I may be giving you that answer because I'm closer to the situation. If you call up Ed Werder and ask him the same question, he might say the Dallas Cowboys because, but in both cases, here you have owners who have to make a decision about a head coach. And you have the greatest coach of all time as a free agent, and you only get one shot. You're only going to get one shot at Belichick, right? Belichick, here's the thing about Belichick. In my view, from what I'm hearing from people, Dan, and this is important, Belichick wants to do this in a dignified, quick way. Beat the record of Don Shula in a way quickly in a place where it's dignified. So I don't know if he can get a better spot than either Dallas or Philadelphia. You have the quarterback in place. You have veteran players who knew how to win. It's a quick turnaround in both those spots where he can set the record of Don Shula's all-time win record, and he can do it quickly. And I think those are two spots where he could definitely go and accomplish the goals that he wants to accomplish.
Always great to talk to you. Thank you for the information. Safe travels back home.
DP, you're the best.
Sal Paolantonio, ESPN national correspondent.